to the Mini Storage Messenger webinar series. I'm Poppy Behrens, publisher of Minico Incorporated, and we're delighted to have you in the audience today. This is one of several informative webinars planned for self-storage owners, operators, managers, investors, developers, and other industry professionals. The focus of today's webinar is Making Solar Energy Work for You, sponsored by DC Taylor Company. Based in Concord, California, DC Taylor operates nationwide from 8 locations and has 60 years of commercial and industrial roofing experience. Our presenter today is Baron Venter, CEO of Bright Energy, LLC. Founded in 2006, Bright Energy specializes in the development of solar systems utilizing a lease or power purchase agreement. Bright Energy has installed over 22,000 panels since 2008. This year marks the 30th anniversary of Mini Storage Messenger, providing the self-storage industry with in-depth news and information. Each issue of Messenger offers cover stories and feature articles on the most timely industry topics and trends. Monthly columns contributed by industry experts and accomplished business professionals address a wide range of topics including security, facility operations, technology, legal issues, legislative updates, construction, and development. We also publish a variety of other self-storage data sources, such as those that you see on your screen. For more information, please visit ministoragemessenger.com. We invite you to submit questions today throughout the webinar. To do so, simply type your question in the question area and click Send. Depending on the question, we will answer it either privately or to the entire group. We will try to answer as many questions as we can during the Q&A period at the end of the webinar. However, those that we cannot answer due to time constraints will be answered by way of email after the webinar. This webinar is being recorded and will be available for viewing on demand from our archives at ministoragemessenger.com. This presentation should run about 45 minutes with the remainder of the hour open to questions and answers. And now it's my distinct pleasure to turn the presentation over to Baron. Good morning, Baron.
Good morning, Poppy. Thank you very much for the introduction there. As Poppy said, the presentation that the webinar that we're going to give today is all about solar energy, and if it's right for your roof. That is what I'm going to answer for you within the next 45 minutes. First of all, I'm from a company called Bright Energy. Bright Energy is a developer of solar systems. We work very closely with DC Taylor as a partner. We evaluate different solar projects. We finance these projects. We set up PPA agreements for specific projects and groups. And we are very interweaved working together with DC Taylor in this regard. On the agenda for today, we're quickly going to touch on the background for renewable energy. Always starting off, why are we doing this? The next agenda point, elements of the solar projects, candidates, roofs for solar installations, and the roadmap to get you guys on solar and what's the life cycle of these projects. First of all, this is a picture from NASA of the solar cap, the ice cap, and what you can clearly see over the last 28 years, what has happened and how the ice is melting. And this is a direct acceleration of the industry phase that we've been through the last 80 years, and the comfort that we've got from HVAC systems and producing industry and mines. And that is something that we need to take responsibility for, and hence why we are all working towards cutting down fossil fuel use in terms of burning coal. That's the biggest culprit. And also then we're working on the petroleum side of things. Some facts: 70% of carbon dioxide comes from commercial buildings and industrial buildings. Most of that is from coal burning plants that basically needs to fill the demand for air conditioning, electric power for production, electric power for, so that's a big component. But the buildings as per se as well, just on the cooling side, the design of buildings, getting buildings LEED certified, and more environmental friendly is a big drive, and that is one of the reasons why, because it's a big culprit in carbon dioxide that's been released in the atmosphere. And as you know, carbon dioxide is one of the biggest reasons for the ozone that's shrinking. With the ozone shrinking, more and more harmful rays, it gets through to the earth and gets reflected, encapsulated inside the atmosphere, heating up our world as we know it. I don't know if you know this, but 10% of the waste in our country's landfills is old roofing material as well. So we're not going to touch on this, but most of the materials that we currently use are also environmental friendly and can be recycled as well. So that is another concern. The main concern with our projects is cutting down on and offsetting carbon dioxide. So how can we make a change? This is just to give you an example of how carbon dioxide is. Our carbon dioxide, what's the the cycle of carbon dioxide? On the right-hand side, you can see the factories, the actual electrical generation plants, coal-fired plants, generating carbon dioxide. And all of it, most of it goes into the air. There's an offset component on the left-hand side that is forests. As you know, a lot of these forests are actually deforested for agricultural use. So we're losing that carbon offset. And then the excess carbon dioxide, a big component, is absorbed in the oceans. The actual effect of this extra carbon dioxide in the oceans that's building up in the oceans, we don't actually know what is the effect of that yet. And our future generations will find out what harm we did with the extra carbon dioxide that's absorbed in the ocean. So, but this is the basic cycle, and what we're fighting is we are fighting, well, not fighting, what we are doing is offsetting the production component on the right-hand side, cutting back on coal-fired plants. That's the main objective. If you are interested further in more information of exactly where we are at, you can send me an email and I'll forward you some links with real data updates of where we are at and the exact impact of carbon dioxide and how we are currently working to cut that back and restore things and normalize the situation. So solar, why solar? If we install 1 megawatt of solar, we offset 3.1 million pounds of carbon dioxide. We basically offset 18,000 pounds of sulfur dioxide and 8,500 pounds of nitrogen dioxide. Those are NOx and SOx that's been referred to in industry. That also causes the acid rain. So the effect of that, what does it mean in real life terms? It's taking about 280 motor vehicles off the road permanently for each 1 megawatt installation, an equivalent of planting 65,000 trees, or the equivalent of planting 65,000 trees in a rainforest. So we are in the business of planting trees to offset carbon, and this is a good thing. And every megawatt installed is making a difference, definitely. So this is our global responsibility component, on top of does it make financial sense, on top of how much can we save, on top of what is the return we can get from a solar system. First of all, we've got a global responsibility in terms of enjoying the luxury and the homes we live in. And yeah, so this is a good thing. So let's get into more the financial component of it. Where does solar make sense? This chart gives you an idea of where the sunlight, the watts per square feet are high. That's basically a rating on the left-hand side. Gives you the annual sunlight. And then the cost component where electricity is more expensive. This does not take into account incentives. It does not take into account rebates. It does not take into account property taxes. So this is purely only a graph that indicates high or different cost per watt, and also take into account the sun or the environment for solar. As you can see, Seattle is left at the bottom, utilizing a lot of hydro power that's cheap, and also has a lot of rain. That's why they're at the bottom. Los Angeles up there, paying a lot for their power, and doesn't have a lot of rain. So, but this gives you an idea, but it does not mean that Denver cannot work. The incentives in Denver is different than in Los Angeles, and there are different ways and different incentives that we as developers use to determine the viability of a project. But this gives you a good indication of two of the variables we evaluate. This is a graph that shows you the last 30 years of utility escalation. This is obviously all based basically on coal fire. Paid 2 cents in 1970, in 2000 in California. Obviously, California orange graph. We are around about 14 cents. 2008, where we are about now, we're about at 16 cents. So we're looking at about a 6.7, 6.5 annual escalation over the last 30 years in California. What is the next 30 years going to look like? There is a huge amount of pressure as we go through the slides that you'll see on states, utilities to utilize and buy a certain percentage of renewable energy power. Renewable energy is more expensive than coal, and we don't foresee these numbers to go down, this escalation, we actually expect it actually might even be higher for the next 15 to 20 years to adopt to all these renewable energy RPS. We'll get to those slides, but the pressure from federal and states to on the utilities to make use of more renewable energy, clean energy. These are just different options that we use on different types of installations. On the right-hand side, we've got normal PV panels, as you'll know, crystalline panels, and on the left, we've got unisolar panels. That's flexible, high durable panels. that doesn't penetrate. So on the right hand side, again, the PV panels are installed onto a metal roof with clips, so there's no penetration as well. We do get, and we do have PV installations where we actually do penetrate, depends on what type of building it is. And but we might have situations on cold storage facilities where we do not want to penetrate for several reasons, and we will utilize the thin film unisolar type of panels that you see on your left hand side. The main differences between panels, these type of panels, are the power density, meaning that what is the amount of power generated per square feet. PV crystalline panels are much higher. They are close to double the output per square feet than the more robust thin film panels. But it all depends on the application and the use and where we need to do the installation, and how much area you've got available on the roof. If you have a confined or small area available on your roof, you want to maximize the output. But if you've got huge warehouse roof space available, you might want to go with the unisolar type of panel that might be more robust. So it all depends on the application, and that needs to be weighed up and the variables to be aligned. So this is just shows you the thin film PV panels. They're very robust. As I said, all the panels, both the thin film panel and the crystalline panels are warranted for 25 years, meaning basically they've got a production warranty of 80% over 25 years. So at year 25, those panels will still produce 80% of its power. The life expectancy of the solar panels are between 40 and 45 years. So basically you're looking at an investment that will be made, and the system will run for up to 45 years, where at 25 years it will still produce 80% of its production value. And the only real maintainable item on these installations are the inverters. The inverters needs to be serviced or replaced around about every 12 years, 10 to 12 years. So that is a maintainable item. But in terms of the total project cost, the inverters are a small component of the project cost. But it's something to keep in mind. So what is the challenges to make solar work? Why is if everybody wants solar and everybody knows it's good and everybody agrees that we need to get it on the roofs, we need to get the carbon offsets going, you know, we want to preserve the world as it is, why isn't everybody doing it? And why you know, isn't the big companies just grabbing it and just installing solar everywhere? Well, there is some challenges to make solar work. Solar, the installation of 1 megawatt installation can cost between, you know, some 6.5 million to 10 million, depending on what you're doing. So the capital layout of these projects are big. If we do a 5 megawatt project, it can be $30 million or $40 million. So at that, as soon as everybody talks about a few $1 million, suddenly, you know, we want to see a return. So the investors want to see, okay, so what type of return can we get? On electricity saving in the market, we are used to install or do electricity saving exercises like changing out light bulbs, putting in variable speed drives on HVAC systems or pumps, and you want to see a payback in 2, 3, 4 years. That goes up to the directors or the board, and they say no problem, and they release the capital to do that. Solar is in a different category where if you need to, it's not just a system, you actually have a code generation system that will be installed on your roof or on your premises. So that code generation system needs to be managed, it needs to be operated, it needs to, meaning that you need to track the production. If production goes down, you need to clean the panels once or twice a year. You need to monitor and make sure that there's not a problem on the inverters. Otherwise, the inverters need to be serviced. So the total cost that we're working now, or the break-even cost, let me get there. Your break-even or capitalization cost are around 12 years in California at the moment with the incentives. So if you get to a client, and that will include everything, the maintenance and. So if you get to a client and ask him to take out a few $1 million with only getting capitalization or break-even at 12 years, he's going to say, well, this is giving me a return or a yield of 6 or 8% on my money, and this is for a good cause, but if I invest that money back into my business, I get 20 or 30%. And I need to get back to my investors or shareholders, and they want to see 20 or 30% return or 15% return, and they're not comfortable with a 6 or 8% return. So that is one of the components that makes solar big installation stuff. And what we do as developers, that's specifically what we do as developers, is that we work with different funding sources where 6 to 8% return is acceptable, and we take over that component and work with the corporate companies to so that they can participate in renewable energy. So the components in there, first of all, if you feel that that's fine, you want to own it, and between 10 and 14 years is good enough for you, because this is like a 45-year investment, and from there on, obviously, your returns will be better. But you still need to be a for-profit company that have tax incentives. The one component is a 30% tax incentive that you use to purchase the system. On the 30% tax incentive, we have the stimulus packet, the stimulus grants now. We can utilize 30% of that money of the stimulus grant, but you still end up with depreciation components where you still need to make profits, reasonable profits, to be able to utilize the depreciation of this project to make the numbers work. So you've got tax incentives, depreciation. Tax incentive is 30% of the project. Depreciation works out around 25% of the project. Then we've got the rebates, we've got deposits that needs to be paid up front. It's only 1%, but it still needs to be paid up front. And you've got the depreciation component. Then I've touched on the low yield. It's a tough call for some of the clients if they need to show us a specific return to their investors. And it's long-term investment, so you need long-term view if you install solar systems and you want to own it yourself to get the returns back. There is another component that we specifically work with DC Taylor on, and that is the the penetrations and warranties. As soon as you put something on your roof and you've got one contractor that actually comes in doing penetrations on the roof, you might first of all void all warranties you had on that roof. Secondly, if you put on a new roof in conjunction, so you've got a roofing contractor and then a solar contractor coming in afterwards, if you've got a problem in 5 years, you might end up with a situation where the roofer said, well, that he didn't do the penetration, or the solar installer turns around and no one wants to accept responsibility for the leak or the problem you've got, and the owner of the building ends up with the problem. And there will be costs involved because you need to remove you might need to remove components of the solar system, and who's going to pay for that? Where we work with DC Taylor, and we wrap that warranty into one warranty with one point of reference. So if there is a roofing or solar component issue, there's one point of reference, no argument, and it needs to be sorted out. So that's one specific component that we addressed that is quite different than other developers, and that's with our partner DC Taylor. And I think subject matter experts, that is the combination. If you work on, if you install anything on a roof, you need to make sure that the people that's involved there are subject matter experts on the roofing and solar components, and it's a one-stop shop. So, and that's basically what we give you as well. This slide, I referred to this slide previously. This is the Renewable portfolio standards. All it basically shows you is that there is a commitment by state, and they actually go with legislation forcing utilities to get their renewable programs going. We can see California 20% by 2010. Connecticut's 23% by 2020. So all the different states have different programs going. This is a 2008. There will be more states on for 2009 on this graph, but this is just the indication that the federal and state governments are all behind solar. They know what is there is a not just solar, but other renewable energies. Solar is the fastest and the quickest way to get it installed. Why solar as well is that for transmission, it's much easier to install the solar system on top of the roof at the point where it's being used than having, there will be big plants in the deserts and bring the power in, but you still need the distribution lines to bring the power in. The quickest way to resolve this is to actually install the renewable cogeneration system at the source where it's being used. So that's then it doesn't put a separate load on the whole distribution network of the utilities. So this is just showing you that there's commitment. This is a typical membrane roof that's being prepared for solar installation. We use our membrane roofs that we use are warranted for 25 years with a life expectancy of 35 years, and that is to match the solar system. So we do not, it's very important that if you install a solar system, that you don't install a solar system and 15 years later need to remove the solar system, pull out all the wires, the harnesses, put in a new roof, and then reinstall the solar system, because as soon as you do that, our calculations have shown it again and again and again, the whole value proposition of your solar system is done. Most probably in 15 years, if you take the system off, the cost of taking it off and then putting it back is going to be so high you might not even put the system back. So it's very important to ship a roof, a solar system that's for a roof, to ship that with a very, very good roofing system, and a manufacturer and a roofing contractor that can stand by the job for the next 25 years. And this is some penetrations in the roof, just to show that to you, for stanchions, fittings that we use to fit solar systems on. But you can see how neatly it's done, and how the penetrations are treated on the roof to make very, very sure that there is no leaks on that roof for the next 25 years. On all the solar systems installed, we use third-party monitoring systems that is approved by the utilities, meaning that the kilowatt hours tracked by these units, these third-party monitoring systems, that kilowatt hours is used to claim the rebates from the rebate programs in the different states. But basically what is monitored is weather, kilowatt output, kilowatt hours generated, and your kilowatt use. So we normally measured as well what you use from the utility, what we produced from our solar system, to give you a total view of your usage. And with the measuring the watts per square feet, the relation between watts per square feet and the output will give you an indication of when the panels are getting dirty and needs to be cleaned. So you can basically measure and see when you've got a decline on your solar system. If it is a PPA, a power purchase agreement, that means, and I'm going to talk more about that, there's a third party. It's basically a second utility on your premises. So a third party owns it, operates it, and you've got no responsibility. The cleaning, the monitoring, everything goes to that third party. I'll talk more about this later in this. So this is a typical metal roof that this building was identified for solar, but this is a typical metal roof. The next slide showed the same building, but we've put a 25-year coating on it. It's like a liquid membrane that's about 60 mil thick. So it's very, very durable, very thick, it's a premier coating that we put on. And after the coating, you can we installed the solar system. So there's the roof ready, and there you can see the solar system installed on the building. So that gives you an idea of how we approach this. This is another building. This specific building is color-coded, so there is some neighbors close to this winery, and they can see the winery, so they're from up the hill, and they didn't want to see a white roof, and the roof of this winery needed to blend in, so the roof of the winery with nature, so the roof of the winery is green. And the next slide will show you the installation with a new green coating. There's a new green coating and the solar installation of that winery. This is just some nice installations early in the morning on a flat roof. This was a flat membrane installation, Hypalon membrane installation. So what is the value proposition? This is what basically we offer the companies out there for your people. to combine the roofing and the solar environment. So we not just bring to you a solar proposition, but we also bring to you a roofing component that's shipped with the solar system. So there's two components. The values are a capital value on the roofing that's enveloped in with the solar system. We'll evaluate and custom fit the solar system for your specific property or roof. You've got 1 point of reference on the warranties. We provide different financial packages. After this slide, I'll quickly touch on that. We enable you to participate in going green. That we all want to do. And you've got the instant tangible value that we give is the asset value of the roof. That capital value, not asset, the capital value of the roof that you would have need to replace or coat or do something with in the next 25 years, that is shipped immediately with the system. And hedge against future electricity increases. Doesn't matter if you own the system, buy it cash, or how you purchase a system with a lease or with a PPA. In all the models, there is opportunity for you to hedge against future increases, electricity increases. These are the different types of financing options. One is obviously a cash purchase. The other one is a capital lease, like equipment lease, straightforward equipment lease. On both of those, you as the client needs to utilize the tax incentives. It can either be a grant, tax equity, 30% tax equity on the project and depreciation, or it can be the stimulus grant, 30%, and then depreciation that you need to utilize. The rebates are also paid to you. So you are basically in charge. You own the system, you own and operate the system, and you're in charge to utilize all the incentives. And we will support you in that. The true lease is a specific solar lease that we do. And the true lease, what it does is the financiers we utilize, actually, they utilize the tax incentives on your behalf. So the value of the true lease is less than a normal equipment lease. It will be, everything, it's a 10-year lease. Everything is owned for 10 years by the financier. The tax incentives and depreciation are utilized by the financier, but the rebates will still go to you. And after 10 years, there's a buyout, and normally in about 3 to 4 years, after 4 years, after the buyout, you can get a second loan for 4 years, and then or financing for 4 years, and then after 14 years, you will own the system. That is on a lease program. A tax-exempt lease is a specific, I'm not going to go into that, that's a specific lease for municipalities, but it's very focused on municipalities. And then a SSA or power purchase agreement. And these are the most deals that we do, our power purchase agreements, where we as a third party basically own and operate the system on your premises. We'll use your available land or rooftop area. We'll ship the capital value of the roof, and we'll sell the power back to you at a discount. So we create the value for you. So there is a cash. Our motive is always to give you two types of value. The one value is a capital value that will be that comes with the roof component, and the other value component is the cash savings value that will be a cash saving over the 25-year agreement. And you can buy the system at any time at fair market value after 7 years. So at any time after 7 years, say for instance at 15 years, the system electricity price is double, then and you actually can pay, the system can pay for itself in 4 years, you can opt to buy the system cash. So you can always, there's always a room, availability for you guys to own the system. On a power purchase agreement at year 25, the system is still running at 80% production. So at year 25, either the system, we need to remove the system as a third party. We can either extend the agreement, or you can purchase the system at 25 years. On a PPA, there is no risk, no capital value, no everything. The application for the rebates, everything is done by our company. Yeah, that's basically, so we are responsible for the system, the production, the cleaning, the maintenance. We do yearly inspections on the roof even, just to make sure that the roof is in good condition, that we don't have problems with that area that we are responsible for. So that is on the PPA. A quick roadmap. So how does this work? What we do is we'll do a high-level solar viability analysis. What do we need for that? We'll quickly look at 1 year's, we need 1 year's utility bills on the meters that is at that site. If there's only 1 meter, that's good. If there's 2, we want to see both. And we need the history of 1 year. With that information, we determine the size of what is the typical size of system that you would need to offset that power, that usage. And we will also evaluate the rate that you're on. That depends, you know, that will give us an idea of what is the viability component, what is, at what price do we sell the power at, and then so we'll pull that in. Then we'll also on different levels, but we also will evaluate quickly the roof and just make sure, you know, that the roof is and the roof areas are good and there's enough area available for the solar system. We'll look at activities on the roof, you know, and where are it's located, what's the orientation of the roof, you know, south, north, west, you know, what are we looking at. While we evaluate that, we will talk to you about the different options. It's very, very important to come to understanding if you want to actually buy the system or just host the system. So in what way do you want to participate? As soon as we've got that figured out, we'll present to you a proposal and a letter of intent in terms of this is the opportunity, this is what we can offer you, this is the price, this is the capital value of what we're going to give you, this is the cash value of what we're going to give you. If we go forward and we actually can commit and produce that values, you know, we would like you guys to basically engage with us before we start. Oops, sorry, I hit the wrong button. But before we start, after the letter of intent, you know, that's basically the letter of intent is just a small term sheet saying that you guys wanted to engage with us, and this is the intent, is that we're going to provide you with these value proposition, with this value, this capital value, and with this cash savings. If you agree, we sign that. The next step is we're going to actual design, that's engineering, then we'll go into depth and do all the designs. Parallel with the designs, we will finalize the contracts. On our side, we reserve all the rebates. We will, we'll pull permits. All the permits are first sign off, will be signed by your folks. You'll know exactly what we're going to do. Then construction and project fulfillment and lights on. And yeah, I think, Poppy, that is it for now. Thank you so much for everyone that attended this web seminar and webinar, and I hope that you've learned and we can add some value to all your buildings, and looking forward to answer some questions.
Great. We have quite a few questions that have come in. One of the first ones was a question asking for the sources for your stats at the beginning of the webinar.
Oh, there's several sources. I can, if they can email me, I will definitely send them. Some sources and some web clips. That makes it easier. It's faster to get the information as well.
Okay, great. Next question: how much thin film do you have to use to match the output of crystalline?
It's about double. So thin film is around about 6 watt per square feet, where we can get 10 to 12 watt on crystalline.
Okay. What surface area equals 1 megawatt with film and with crystalline?
So yeah, it depends on the activities on the roof. We normally work about 150,000 square feet on crystalline, and you will go up to about double that for thin film. So 125 to 150,000 square feet needed for 1 megawatt of crystalline, and with thin film, it's double that. So it's around about 250 to 300,000 square feet for thin film.
Okay. How do we know if we qualify for a solar system?
That's a good question. The best way is to either contact Michael O'Brien, that's from DC Taylor, or myself. That's fine. And we need to first of all, it depends on if you want to own it yourself or do you want to do a PPA. So if you want to do a PPA, that means that we've got third party, we pay for everything and we bring the value to you. We normally want to group, we don't mind having multiple buildings together, but we need somewhere around about 500 megawatt in a group together. So it can be multiple buildings from one client to finance a PPA. So if it's smaller than that, we can go a route, the route of a lease. So, and a lease will be somewhere from 50 kilowatt to 500 kilowatt. So we've got two different programs depending on the size of what we can do. We can do smaller PPAs, but then it needs to be like special conditions. So the best will be is to make contact with us, that we can evaluate and just on a call, or it's fast, but we need to evaluate that. It's not if you can do solar, it's what route do you need to take to put solar. So everybody can have solar. It's just different routes that makes it easier and faster to unlock solar for your roof.
Okay, next question. Do you operate in Canada?
Canada, we haven't done work in Canada now yet. We had few requests, and if it's viable, we will. So we haven't done work in Canada yet. We work throughout the United States, but we have several requests. We haven't found a project yet that's viable, but we will entertain definitely entertain work in Canada for sure.
Okay. Next question is, which panel is better?
It depends on the application. So it really depends on the application, on what you need to do and where. So you know, it's like a tractor with tracks and a tractor with wheels. It depends on where you use it. It's not which one is better. In certain applications, the one is better than the other one. You know, all those panels are vigorously UL tested. So you know, they are all good panels, but financially, for it to make sense, you need to apply it, you know, in the right places. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. So that's more. It's the way where you use it and where you apply it, and what's the conditions that you use it in.
All right, wonderful. Next question is, what is the turnaround time from evaluation to getting permits to installation?
That's a good question. So the turnaround time, depending on the size of the project. The install of the project, the actual construction phase is not that long. It can be, we can do a megawatt in about 2.5 months. So that is not, but to get to that stage can take some time. So the total life cycle of a project can be anywhere between, I would say, minimum 4 months. 4 months to 1.5 years. But you know, I would say, you know, if we engage now, within 6 months, we should, you know, we can have something up in 6 months if there's no real, you know, without huge, if everybody, you know, if there's no real issues, we should have it up 4 to 6 months. But I would say rather 6 months. It depends on the size, and that's about a megawatt project. You know, around about there, maybe 3 buildings, 1 megawatt. So you know, yeah. You know, if it's in different states, different counties, you know, that makes it harder. And you know, and you know, we had some projects with one client in different counties, and you know, the timelines of those 2 projects with the same client in 2 counties were like, you know, 3 months apart, you know, 3 months longer on the one project, just because the, you know, the permitting is tougher in the one. But overall, we found the counties to be very you know, very good with solar, and you know, they working very close, and they accelerating the permitting processes for solar systems, specifically in California. I'm not sure about, you know, all the states in the USA. Okay.
All right, next question. Do you work with any wind generation programs?
Bright Energy actually works with any renewable energy program. So we do, we look into landfill gas, wind, and all of those components as well. But that is a very different, very different environment. So yeah, so we will look at that, but it's a very different environment.
All right, next question. How many kilowatts or megawatts of solar has Bright Energy installed?
We've done 2008, 2009, we'll just be under 5 megawatts.
All right. I've had several people ask about downloading the PowerPoint for this presentation. You will be receiving an email. We'll tell you more about that at the end of the webinar, and the entire presentation will be available both for viewing online and as a MP3 PowerPoint download. Next question, does Bright Energy have a website?
Yeah, brightgroup.us. It's the section of my look at my email, it's the brightgroup.us.
Okay. Can our solar system be too big or too small?
It can be too big. It can be too big. Reason one, it can be over-designed for your for your usage. So most of the utilities work with what they call net metering. Net metering lets you push energy back into the grid, and you bank the power, or you get credits for that power at the rate that you actually push it back into the grid. So you use it at night again, but if you bank more over a year that you basically used, you will lose it. That you don't want. So, and you need to have people that understand rates, the rate schedules of utility. A lot of the installers out there don't understand it, and they will design a system that will actually produce 100% of your kilowatt hours, but they don't understand that in certain times of day, with time of day use, you will bank it at higher costs, that you will bank it at a higher rate. So at the end of the day, you'll end up with extra credit that's not used, and the utilities don't pay you for it. They just sell that power back to the guy next door. So you're just doing them a favor. So that's the one component. The other component is that there is certain sizes that is the rebates and incentives per state are defined per size of system. So in California, we can put systems up that more than a megawatt AC, but we don't, because we only get rebates up into a megawatt. And I think, and every state is different. You know, there is a huge difference per state. Some is 250, some is 25. So that is another component. You want to size the system for the maximum amount of rebates and incentives. Okay.
All right. Next question. What types of warranties exist for solar roofs?
25 years.
Okay.
So the roof is shipped with a 25-year warranty.
All right, wonderful. And what are the maintenance requirements for solar roofing?
The solar, if it's a PPA, that means that we own the system. You don't have any maintenance requirements. If you own the system and you put it up, it will be standard, you know, cleaning out leaf spouts, you know, just the standard, you know, checks that you need to do. And it depends on what type of roofing system is used. If it's, you know, if it's a membrane system or a coating that's been applied, it depends on if there is specific traffic on the roof. You know, that areas need to be checked. If there's HVAC systems, maintenance on those systems, you know, what is the procedures that those guys use, you know, what type of dollies and trolleys do they pull on the roofs. So it's standard maintenance, roofing maintenance, but DC, I don't know, you know, DC, if you're going to own the roof itself, DC Taylor will give you that maintenance breakdown.
All right, and I think we have time for one more question. How will solar benefit my customers?
Well, that's, you know, that's a good question. First of all, you know, it's part of a global responsibility, so you can put it in as marketing. Definitely, you know, you can advertise and show that you're hosting a green system, that you are contributing. If it's mini storage, I mean, it's like having a mini storage with a lot of trees on top. You know, it's clean, green. You use clean energy. So it's more from a marketing component. You know, you can use it in an angle that works for you. You know, being green, selling at the same price, there will be a market out there that rather will store and utilize mini storage with green power, powered by green power than coal fire. And you know, it's showing. It's the same as sponsoring as a football team, or, you know, it's the same thing. You know, it's your global and local responsibility as a client. You know, it's part of your marketing campaign, and you know, in global and local responsibility.
All right, let's see if we can get one more quick question in here. How do you set your lease up for a home in Philadelphia, and are there any discounts given with a lease?
Well, a lease, we don't do, it needs to be a company, so it cannot be for a home. So it needs to be a company. A home system will be between 3 and 4, 5 kilowatt maybe. You know, that's why we do a lease from 50 kilowatt upwards. And it's exactly the same as an equipment lease. It's like you leasing a copier, or you're leasing a forklift, or you're leasing, and then after 10 years you buy it. So it's a lease, and after 10 years you buy it at the fair market value. So it's not, there's no real discount into it. It is what it is. I mean, if you go and buy, you know, I don't know, you know, there's no specific discounts on it. It is a financing vehicle that enables you to own a solar system.
Perfect. All right, well, we'd like to thank everyone for attending today. We certainly hope we provided you with some useful information about adding the solar component to your self-storage operation. You will receive an email shortly with a link to the archived presentation, so be sure that you watch your inbox for this email. Also, our next webinar will be held on Wednesday, October 28th, presented by Scott Myers. It will focus on self-storage acquisitions, zero-down case studies. To sign up for this event or any other future webinars, please visit our website at ministoragemessenger.com. Thank you again for attending this event, and have a wonderful rest of the day.